Is Buddhism a philosophy or a religion? Buddhism can be considered both a philosophy and a religion. It contains elements of both, and its classification as one or the other can depend on an individual's interpretation and cultural context. As a philosophy, Buddhism is centered around the teachings of the Buddha and the Four Noble Truths, which focus on understanding the nature of suffering and the path to liberation from it. As a religion, it includes practices such as meditation, ethical conduct, and devotion to the Buddha and other spiritual beings. What is Buddhism from a philosophical point of view? From a philosophical perspective, Buddhism is a system of thought and practice based on the teachings of the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. It is centered around the Four Noble Truths, which state that 1. Life is suffering, 2. Suffering is caused by craving and attachment, 3. It is possible to end suffering, and 4. The path to the cessation of suffering is the Eightfold Path. This path consists of the right understanding, intention, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. In Buddhism, the ultimate goal is to attain enlightenment, or nirvana, which is characterized by complete liberation from suffering and the attainment of inner peace and wisdom. This is achieved through a combination of ethical conduct, meditation, and the cultivation of wisdom and insight. Buddhism also teaches that all things are impermanent and constantly changing, and that the self is not a fixed entity but is instead a constantly changing process. This leads to the idea of dependent origination, which states that all things arise in dependence on other factors and conditions and lack an inherent, unchanging self. What is Buddhism from a religious point of view? From a religious point of view, Buddhism is a tradition that encompasses a range of beliefs and practices centered on the teachings of the Buddha, or Awakened One. Buddhists believe that the Buddha was a historical figure who achieved a state of complete enlightenment and taught a path for others to follow. In addition to the teachings on the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, Buddhism also includes a variety of devotional and ritual practices aimed at cultivating spiritual development and bringing the practitioner closer to enlightenment. These may include offerings to the Buddha and other deities, meditation, mantra recitation, and prostrations. Buddhism also recognizes various spiritual beings, including bodhisattvas and devas, who are believed to be able to assist and protect practitioners on their spiritual journey. Buddhists may also seek guidance and inspiration from texts such as the Buddhist scriptures and the writings of Buddhist teachers. For many Buddhists, their religious practice is an integral part of their daily life and a way to cultivate spiritual development and attain a greater understanding of the nature of existence. Is Buddhist meditation religious or philosophical? Meditation is an integral part of both the religious and philosophical aspects of Buddhism. From a religious perspective, meditation is a means of developing spiritual insight, calming the mind, and bringing the practitioner closer to enlightenment. It is also considered a way to purify the mind and cultivate positive qualities such as compassion and wisdom. From a philosophical perspective, meditation is seen as a tool for developing mindfulness, awareness, and insight into the nature of existence. By focusing on the mind and observing the workings of the mind and body, one can gain a deeper understanding of the impermanence and interdependence of all things, and eventually, attain liberation from suffering. Therefore, in Buddhism, meditation can be seen as both a religious and philosophical practice, serving both spiritual and practical goals, and playing an important role in the overall path of spiritual development. Is the Buddhist reincarnation theory religious or philosophical? The theory of reincarnation, also known as rebirth or samsara, in Buddhism can be seen as both religious and philosophical. From a religious perspective, reincarnation is a central tenet of Buddhist belief and is seen as a mechanism through which one can continue on the path to enlightenment in future lives. The accumulation of positive or negative karma in this life determines the conditions of one's next rebirth. From a philosophical perspective, reincarnation is seen as a way of understanding the impermanence and interdependence of all things. The idea of rebirth is seen as a logical consequence of the doctrine of dependent origination, which states that all things arise in dependence on other factors and conditions, and lack an inherent, unchanging self. Therefore, in Buddhism, the theory of reincarnation can be seen as both a religious and philosophical concept, serving both spiritual and practical goals, and playing an important role in the overall understanding of the nature of existence and the path to liberation from suffering. Is the strictness of Buddhist discipline religious or philosophical? The strictness of Buddhist discipline can be seen as both religious and philosophical. From a religious perspective, strict discipline is considered a means of purifying the mind and cultivating positive qualities such as compassion and wisdom. The Buddhist moral code, known as the 5 precepts, sets guidelines for ethical behavior, and stricter forms of discipline, such as monastic life, aim to further enhance the practitioner's spiritual development. From a philosophical perspective, strict discipline is seen as a way of training the mind and developing mindfulness, awareness, and self-control. By observing the 5 precepts and engaging in spiritual practices such as meditation, one can gain a deeper understanding of the nature of existence and eventually attain liberation from suffering. Therefore, in Buddhism, the strictness of discipline can be seen as both a religious and philosophical aspect, serving both spiritual and practical goals, and playing an important role in the overall path of spiritual development. Buddhism can be considered both a philosophy and a religion. On the other hand, isn't Buddhism located in the middle of philosophy and religion? Yes, Buddhism can indeed be considered both a philosophy and a religion, and it often straddles the line between the two. On one hand, Buddhism has a strong emphasis on ethics, wisdom, and the development of mindfulness and insight, which are characteristic of philosophical systems. On the other hand, it also includes devotional and ritual practices, as well as a belief in spiritual beings and a concept of reincarnation, which are typical of religious traditions. In many ways, Buddhism transcends traditional distinctions between philosophy and religion and incorporates elements of both into a unique system of thought and practice. It can be seen as a way of life that seeks to understand the nature of existence and cultivate wisdom and compassion, rather than simply adhering to a set of beliefs or moral codes. Therefore, Buddhism can be considered as located in the middle of philosophy and religion, incorporating aspects of both while transcending their traditional definitions, and offering a unique and holistic approach to spiritual development. Can you say that the philosophical aspect of Buddhism is the difference from other religions such as Christianity or Catholicism? Yes, the philosophical aspect of Buddhism sets it apart from many other religions such as Christianity and Catholicism. Buddhism has a unique philosophical system that emphasizes the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path and places a strong emphasis on the development of mindfulness, awareness, and insight. In contrast, many Western religions such as Christianity and Catholicism place a greater emphasis on belief in divine revelation, the worship of a personal deity, and the importance of moral codes and religious rituals. Additionally, Buddhism has a non-theistic worldview, meaning that it does not posit the existence of a personal deity or creator, and instead sees the ultimate goal of spiritual development as the attainment of enlightenment through one's own efforts. This sets it apart from many other religions that posit the existence of a divine being who is the source of all existence and morality. Therefore, the philosophical aspect of Buddhism can be seen as a key difference from other religions such as Christianity and Catholicism, offering a unique and distinctive approach to understanding the nature of existence and the path to spiritual development.